lied and used fake documents to obtain the interview with my mother, made lurid and false claims about the royal family, which played on her fears and fueled paranoia.
The royal family tried to hide Princess Diana's most intimate thoughts, but the truth has escaped the palace walls. A hidden collection of her handwritten letters reveals her deep love for Prince William, emotions that palace protocol couldn't silence. What heartfelt confessions did she pen before her tragic death? And how did these private notes, once kept by a trusted housekeeper, end up at a London auction? Join us as we unveil Princess Diana's lost letter to Prince William. Auctioning secrets. It was a quiet day in July 2004 when something extraordinary happened. No big announcements warned people, no flashy headlines caught anyone's attention. Just a simple listing in a London auction house catalog changed everything. There, tucked between pages of fancy items for sale, sat something priceless. Handwritten letters from Princess Diana. But these weren't just any letters. They were her private thoughts, never meant for the world to see. The letters had belonged to Violet Collison, who wasn't just a housekeeper to the Spencer family. For decades, Violet had been there through it all. She watched as shy little Diana grew up, fell in love with a prince, and became the most famous woman on earth. When Violet passed away, her family found these treasures. The collection included dozens of notes, cards, and long letters Diana had written over many years. Unlike the carefully worded statements that came from Buckingham Palace, these letters showed the real Diana, unfiltered, honest, and often funny. One letter jumped out right away. Written on cream-colored paper with Diana's letterhead, it talked about Prince William in such a loving way that even hardened auction staff felt tears well up. The mother's pride practically jumped off the page. Diana described how William had stood up for a classmate being bullied, showing the same kindness that Diana was known for. She told Violet that while he may be a prince by title, it was his heart that made him truly royal. The auction house staff knew they were handling something special. Sarah Thompson, who helped catalog the collection, remembered the strange feeling as she read through Diana's words. Later, Sarah said it felt like Diana was in the room with them. Her handwriting would grow larger and less tidy when she was excited, and every pen stroke seemed to carry her emotions. Among the collection was a letter dated July 8, 1981, just weeks before Diana's royal wedding to Prince Charles. The world remembers seeing her in that famous dress with the 25-foot train, looking like a fairy tale princess. But her letter told a different story. Behind the perfect smile was a young woman caught in a whirlwind. Diana wrote about final dress fittings, endless lists of wedding guests she'd never met, and rules about royal protocol that made her head spin. Yet despite the chaos, she joked that everyone was rushing to finish last-minute details, while the bride remained calm and collected. That small comment showed what made Diana special: her ability to find humor even when life got crazy. She was only 19 years old, about to marry into the world's most famous family with billions of people watching, yet she could still laugh about it. As the years passed, her letters changed. The excited scribbles of a young bride gave way to more serious thoughts. Diana wrote about her frustrations with palace life, her concerns about raising children in the spotlight, and above all, her deep love for William and Harry. The auction house expected the letters would sell for maybe a few £1,000s. They were wrong. Collectors, museums, and even some of Diana's friends got into a bidding war. The final price shocked everyone: over £20,000 for just one letter, where Diana described William's first day of school. What made these letters worth so much wasn't just that Diana wrote them. It was that they showed her true self. In a world where every public word she said was analyzed and often twisted, these private thoughts were pure Diana. Royal experts who studied the letters found something interesting. Diana often wrote late at night, when the palace was quiet and she could be alone with her thoughts. She used her personal stationery, rather than official palace paper, for her most honest letters, as if putting distance between her true self and her royal role. For those who followed Diana's life, these letters were like finding missing puzzle pieces. They filled gaps in her story that magazine interviews and TV appearances never could. They showed a mother determined to raise sons who understood the real world beyond palace gates. Diana's letters shared her most personal thoughts. But what surprising measures did she take to shield her sons from the intense pressure of the royal spotlight? A mother's devotion. While the world saw Princess Diana as a royal icon draped in designer dresses, her handwritten letters showed someone completely different, a mother who would break any rule to protect her children. Diana didn't just love William and Harry. She built a shield around them against the storm of royal life that she herself had struggled with. Diana knew how lonely palace life could be, and she refused to let William and Harry grow up the same way. She gave them hugs, bedtime stories, and a view of life beyond royal walls. She often changed plans to avoid photographers, using her mental map of London's quiet spots. Her letters revealed this fierce protectiveness. In one, she skipped a high-profile event to attend William's school play. Palace officials were furious, but Diana stood firm. Being there for her son mattered more than any royal duty. Among the collection of letters, one stood out because it wasn't written on fancy palace paper. Dated June 21, 1989, it was a simple thank you note to Sergeant George Plum of the Special Escort Group. Diana had asked him to bring police motorcycles to Kensington Palace for William's 7th birthday party. The letter showed how Diana created magical childhood moments, even within palace walls. William had fallen in love with motorcycles after seeing the police escorts that followed the royal family. Most royal mothers would have simply ordered an expensive toy bike, not Diana. She arranged for real police officers with real motorcycles to perform stunts on the palace lawn as a surprise. In her note, Diana thanked Sergeant Plum for bringing joy to William and his friends. What made this letter special wasn't just Diana's warm words. It was the 3 signatures at the bottom. Next to Diana's elegant handwriting were the wobbly signatures of young William and Harry. Diana had sat with her boys and helped them learn the importance of saying thank you, just as any mother would. Former royal staff members later shared how unusual this was. Royal children typically had staff write thank you notes on their behalf. Diana insisted her sons learn gratitude firsthand. She wanted them to understand that being royal didn't make them better than others. It gave them greater responsibility to be kind. Diana's protection went beyond physical safety. She worried constantly about how fame would affect her sons mentally. Palace nannies reported finding Diana sitting on the floor of the nursery late at night, sorting through William's school assignments and Harry's drawings. She wanted to know what they were learning, what made them happy, and what worried them. When William started school, Diana made a bold decision that shocked the Queen. Instead of sending him to boarding school at age 8, like royal tradition demanded, she chose a day school close to Kensington Palace. This meant William could come home every afternoon rather than spending months away from family. When palace advisors objected, Diana reportedly said he needed his mother, not just his title. Diana's former bodyguard, Ken Worf, revealed how she created a secret code with her sons. If they felt overwhelmed at public events, they would tug their ear or touch their nose, signals only Diana understood. She would immediately find a reason to take them somewhere quiet or end the event early. For William's birthdays, Diana started a tradition completely foreign to royal life. She invited his school friends for sleepovers at Kensington Palace. She transformed formal reception rooms into blanket forts and brought in pizza instead of the fancy meals usually served. Palace staff were stunned to find Diana herself wearing pajamas and joining pillow fights. Many years later, and Prince William is now a father himself, royal watchers noticed how he adopted many of Diana's parenting approaches. He takes his children to school personally, arranges playdates with non-royal families, and insists on bedtime stories, all lessons learned from a mother whose devotion went far beyond what palace protocol allowed. Diana didn't just sign her letters with love, she lived those words every day, building a foundation of love and normalcy that would support her sons long after she was gone. Diana did everything she could to shield her sons from the weight of royal life. But how did she manage to break centuries of tradition and rewrite the rules of royal parenting entirely? Breaking royal traditions. On June 21, 1982, the world celebrated as Princess Diana gave birth to her first son, Prince William. Behind the palace announcements and ceremonial gun salutes, something extraordinary was happening that would forever change how royal children were raised. At just 20 years old, Diana was quietly starting a parenting revolution that shocked the royal establishment to its core. For centuries, royal babies lived by strict rules. They rarely saw their parents, spent most of their time with nannies, and learned formal behavior before they could even walk. Royal mothers traditionally step back after giving birth, returning quickly to public duties while staff handled the messy business of actually raising children. Diana tore up this ancient rulebook from day one. When nurses tried to take newborn William to the royal nursery located in a different wing of the palace, Diana refused. She insisted that his crib stay in her bedroom, right beside her bed. Palace staff were horrified. Queens and princesses simply didn't keep babies in their rooms like common people. But Diana stood firm. She had grown up in an aristocratic family where children were often sent away to boarding schools and kept at arm's length. As a little girl, she had felt that coldness deeply. Now, as a mother herself, she was determined that her son would always feel warmth and closeness. Perhaps most shocking to royal observers was Diana's decision to breastfeed William herself. For generations, royal mothers had hired wet nurses to feed their babies for them.
Make funny faces over there.
Why should I
The Queen Mother reportedly called Diana's choice unnecessary and common. Diana ignored the criticism, believing the bonding time was too precious to miss. When it came time to name the future king, Diana ignored royal tradition and chose William, simply because she liked it, without consulting the monarch. It was a bold move that signaled her independent approach to motherhood. Weeks later, when Prince Charles planned a trip to Australia, Diana refused to leave baby William behind. Either he came too, or she wouldn't go. Palace officials gave in. She even carried William herself across the airport tarmac, breaking protocol again. Later, she enrolled him in a regular nursery school, making him the first royal child to learn and play alongside children from everyday families. Diana's insistence on school drop-offs and pickups seemed strange to palace officials who offered to send staff instead. What they didn't understand was that Diana treasured these everyday moments. She wanted to hear about William's day directly from him, not in a nanny's report later that evening. At home, Diana created new family traditions. Bath time became a noisy, splashy affair that she handled personally.
He's trying to do my house. Harry, doctor, how?
Often ending up as wet as the children. When William or Harry were sick, staff would find Diana sleeping on the floor beside their beds, breaking the unwritten rule that royal parents maintained their distance even during illness. Holidays changed too. Rather than sending her sons to grand family estates with nannies, Diana took them on adventures herself. She taught them to build sandcastles on public beaches, waited in line with them at amusement parks, and let them eat ice cream that dripped onto their clothes. Small freedoms that no royal child had enjoyed before. Perhaps most revolutionary was Diana's approach to discipline. Royal children had traditionally been seen but not heard, expected to behave perfectly at all times. Diana instead allowed her boys to express their feelings, even when those feelings were messy. Palace staff were stunned when she let William have a temper tantrum rather than immediately scolding him. She would kneel down to his eye level, listen to his frustrations, and help him understand his emotions. Parenting techniques considered alarmingly modern for a royal. By the time Harry was born in 1984, Diana had already transformed what it meant to be a royal mother. Her sons knew what previous generations of royal children hadn't: the feeling of being tucked into bed by their mother each night, the sound of her voice reading bedtime stories, and the certainty that, titles aside, they were loved for exactly who they were. Diana didn't just raise princes differently, she changed the definition of royal childhood forever. Diana rewrote the rules of royal parenting, but what surprising real-world experiences did she intentionally give her sheltered sons to help them grow up grounded? Diana exposed her sons to real life. The walls of Kensington Palace were designed to keep the world out. For centuries, royal children lived inside these protective barriers, surrounded by luxury, but separated from ordinary life. Diana understood this golden cage better than anyone. She had stepped into it as an adult and felt its isolation firsthand. For her sons, she wanted something different, not just a royal education, but a human one. While other royals focused on teaching William and Harry about their future duties, Diana focused on showing them the world they would one day serve. On quiet weekdays when the press least expected it, Diana would disguise herself with a simple scarf and sunglasses. With minimal security, she would take her boys on secret, normal days that shocked royal advisors but delighted her sons. The McDonald's visits became legendary among palace staff. Diana would park her car several blocks away, and with a single bodyguard walking at a distance, she'd join the line with William and Harry. They ordered happy meals, like millions of other children, waited for their food, and sat at plastic tables. Other customers rarely recognized them. The idea of a princess and future king eating chicken nuggets seemed too unlikely to believe. Even more surprising were Diana's London Underground adventures. Despite security concerns, she insisted that her sons know how to use public transportation.
Quickly, look. Bring it over here.
In off-peak hours, wearing casual clothes and baseball caps, Diana taught the boys how to buy tickets, navigate station maps, and stand clear of closing doors. Fellow passengers sometimes did double takes, but most Londoners, famous for minding their own business, simply ignored the small family huddled together on subway seats. During one memorable underground journey, the train stopped between stations due to a signal failure. For 20 minutes, William and Harry experienced something few royals ever had: being stuck in a hot, crowded train car with frustrated commuters. Diana used this unexpected delay to whisper valuable lessons about patience and sharing space with others who were tired after long workdays. Theme parks became another classroom for Diana's real-world education. Unlike royal parks with private access, Diana took her sons to crowded attractions where they learned to stand in lines that couldn't be skipped, even by princes. At Thorpe Park, a popular British amusement park, Diana sat between William and Harry on roller coasters, screaming alongside them as they experienced the same thrills as children from ordinary families. The most powerful lessons came through Diana's charity work. While many royals supported causes from a comfortable distance, Diana brought her sons face to face with difficult realities. When William was 9 years old, she took him to visit Centrepoint, a charity supporting homeless young people in London. The visit wasn't a quick photo opportunity. Diana arranged for William to spend time sitting and talking with teenagers not much older than him who had no homes, no families to support them, and few opportunities.
And it wasn't a difficult decision in the end. It's what I wanted. It's what I want.
These weren't staged conversations with carefully selected individuals. They were raw encounters with young people whose lives had taken harsh turns. One Centrepoint staff member later recalled how William sat quietly, listening to a 16-year-old boy describe sleeping in parks during winter and searching for food in trash bins. While palace advisors worried these stories might frighten the young prince, Diana knew something important was happening. Empathy was growing where privilege might have created distance. Even bath time became an opportunity for real-world education. Diana would tell stories about the countries she had visited, people who lived differently, and children who didn't have clean water or warm beds. As she washed their hair, she planted seeds of global awareness that would later bloom into the humanitarian work both princes pursue today. Diana's methods were revolutionary, but her goal was simple. She wanted her sons to see the world through uncovered windows, not from behind palace curtains. She believed that true leadership required understanding the lives of all people, not just those born into privilege. Diana showed her sons the world outside palace walls, but how did she protect them when her own fairy tale crumbled? The People's Princess. By the early 1990s, the fairy tale had fallen apart. The dream wedding watched by millions had led to a marriage filled with loneliness and heartbreak. As Diana's relationship with Prince Charles publicly crumbled, she faced her greatest challenge yet, protecting William and Harry from the storm while her own world fell apart.
Oh, go on, have a go down the slide. Who's that?
Yeah.
The palace walls that once felt like a prison now became a battlefield. Every week brought new painful headlines, whispered conversations that stopped when the princes entered rooms, and phone calls Diana took behind closed doors, often emerging with red eyes. Through it all, she worked to create a bubble of normality for her sons. When Charles and Diana officially separated in 1992, William was only 10 years old and Harry just 8. At an age when most children worry about homework and playground games, Diana's boys faced questions about their parents' marriage from classmates who had seen newspaper headlines. Diana established new routines to give them stability when everything else felt uncertain. School became even more important during this time. Diana carefully selected Wetherby School and later Ludgrove, not just for their academic standards, but for their supportive environments. She personally met with teachers, explaining the situation at home and asking them to watch for any signs of emotional distress in her sons. Diana's former driver recalled how she kept 2 small notebooks, one for each son, where she jotted down things they mentioned wanting to do, or places they hoped to visit. Even as her own schedule became overwhelming with the separation and growing media attention, she would check these notebooks regularly, surprising the boys with small adventures they had mentioned weeks earlier. When Diana sat down for her famous BBC Panorama interview in 1995, watched by 22 million people, she made a decision that surprised even her closest friends. While she spoke honestly about her marriage troubles, she never portrayed Charles as a bad father. Despite her own pain, she protected her sons' relationship with their dad, understanding they needed both parents' love. After the interview, Queen Elizabeth II urged Diana and Charles to divorce quickly. The formal process began, bringing new challenges. Diana fought fiercely for custody arrangements that would keep the boys' lives as normal as possible. She won the right to have William and Harry live primarily with her at Kensington Palace while also spending regular time with their father. Diana's divorce was finalized on August 28, 1996. She lost her title of Her Royal Highness, a painful change, not for herself, but for what it meant for her sons. Royal protocol meant she would one day have to curtsy to William and Harry. Seeing her hurt, 14-year-old William promised to restore her title when he became king. Without royal status, Diana's security was reduced. To protect her sons, she used decoys, changed routes, and relied on trusted staff to mislead the paparazzi. Her charity work deepened, focusing on homelessness, HIV, and landmine awareness. In January 1997, she walked through minefields in Angola with the Red Cross. Before the trip, she left letters for William and Harry, expressing pride and hope for their future. In her final months, she built a network of mentors for her sons, guides who shared her values and could support them beyond the royal world. On August 31, 1997, Diana's life ended tragically in Paris. William and Harry, just 15 and 12, faced the unimaginable task of grieving their mother while the whole world watched. As they walked behind her coffin, they carried with them the lessons she had taught: strength during hardship, compassion for others, and the courage to forge their own paths. Will William honor his childhood promise to restore his mother's title, creating a royal legacy that Diana would have been proud of? How different might the monarchy be today if Diana had lived to guide William and Harry through their adult challenges and royal responsibilities? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.